What's up, guys? Welcome back. Hello and welcome back, everyone, to my fever dream. I am once again sick out of my mind, but it is Veterans Day. I need to make a video. So first of all, thank me for my service. You're welcome. And second of all, no. I think that most veterans would say that any day where it's celebrating veterans or military personnel, we always think about the people who fell. There's been quite a few, in my community at least, in the last 2 years that have fell. And one of them in particular I want to talk about. Somebody who made me into the person I am today. Somebody I tried my best to replicate when I was over in Iraq as well as Ukraine. He is unfortunately not here today. I'm not going to go into specifics, but I want to talk about his story a little bit on this Veterans Day. His Kurdish name was Rashid, and he spent about 5 years in Syria. His 18th birthday present was a ticket to Syria, and then he would spend about 5 years there. He always wanted to help out the Kurds there and the Arabs there. More than anything, that was his dream ever since he was a kid, and ever since ISIS was really rampaging. He is just a heart of gold, and he wanted to help really, really bad. And I remember him telling me about some of his combat operations, and he didn't talk about it unless you asked him. He was one of those dudes, very humble. And a lot of my videos that I put on this channel are based on the conversations I would have with him. So his first combat operation when he was in Syria, he was in the border with Syria mainland and Rojava, which is the Kurdish-held area. And he was there in 2015. And he was on this rooftop with a couple of the Arab fighters that he was with, as well as some Kurds. And he was chilling. He was the PKM gunner, but he had an AK and he was just standing guard duty. Everybody else was sleeping on the roof, and he was looking out, and it was morning. And he sees this car incoming from the area where ISIS was, about 500 meters away. And as they started getting closer, you realize they're coming straight for me. So he's looking above the rooftop as this car with a person on a dushka in the back of it, like a Toyota Hilux, and they're barreling straight towards his house. And they didn't stop at all. They were going full speed straight towards him. He didn't know if it was a suicide bomber. He didn't know anything at that point. And he would tell me later what he thought it would be, which I'll get into. But as they're driving closer and closer, 200 meters, 100 meters, 50 meters, and they get right in front of the house without firing a single shot. And he tells the Kurds, "There's guys right here, what's going on?" And he was panicked. It was his first time seeing ISIS this close. It was his first combat engagement. And the Kurds are like, "Oh my God," they grab the PKM, and then all of them start firing into this car, and they kill the two occupants, the gunner and the driver. And he told me what probably happened was that these ISIS fighters thought that this area was occupied by ISIS, when in reality it was occupied by them. So they thought they were going to a friendly position when it was actually occupied by Rashid and his friends. And that was his first engagement. Insane stuff. He was 18 years old at that time. After he told me that story, I grabbed some chai from the kitchen, brought it back in. We were sitting on the ground in my room, just me and him and a couple of the other dudes. And I asked him, "Is there any other stories that you have? Like anything else?" And he told me that there's one other that really comes to mind, which is this crazy battle they were in Raqqa, the capital of ISIS, where they were going house to house, street to street, in YPG International. And it was him, a couple other dudes, one of which you've seen on my channel before, as well as this French guy named Gabar. That was his name, his Kurdish name. And as they were walking down this alleyway, Gabar is taking point. He's in the front. He's this older French dude, very heavy. Shots ring out, Gabar goes down. What happened was that an ISIS fighter was about 3 feet away inside of a doorway, that when Gabar walked past it, it was dimly lit. He couldn't see that there was an ISIS fighter pointing a gun, and dropped Gabar, killed him instantly. Rashid ran over, started suppressing the area. Everybody was trying to figure out what's going on. They're all suppressing different windows, trying to control the situation, and Rashid went to go and grab Gabar and pull him back. But Gabar is heavy. He was a heavy dude, completely dead weight in the middle of this rubble town of Raqqa, and he's trying to drag him back, but he's just so heavy and he can't do it. So he called for somebody to help him, and eventually they were able to get Gabar back. It's a much longer story than that, but that's pretty much what happened. It was a very sad situation for him to see somebody go down just like that very, very quickly. And he tried to get him back, but he just remembered that he was so heavy, it was very difficult to get him back. And that's just sort of brutal stuff that he had to deal with when he was alive. People go through some crazy shit, and I feel very lucky that I never went through a situation like that. I've been through my own situations. I've been through my own troubles and traumas and stuff, but that's just, some people go through it on a whole other level, and it's something to be said. Another one that I want to mention was that he was one of the international fighters that was in Afrin. And if you guys don't know what Afrin is, this was a big region that the Kurds held in northwestern Syria. And the Turks ended up invading it, but before that, they bombed it to pieces, just bombed everything, killed thousands of fighters. And ever since that specific operation, you could tell that a lot of those guys were impacted very heavily. There's a lot of trauma involved with having to fall back, having to retreat, while the Turks are bombing, and you know, he lost a lot of good friends there. Lost a lot of good friends. I know a couple guys who were there, and a lot of them were injured. A lot of them have lasting trauma from that operation. There's some real heartbreak that happened over there. And besides that, this guy, and hearing his stories not only from combat, but just the way he presented himself, completely humble, no social media at all. He just lived a life. He learned the languages. He spent 5 years there. That was all he wanted to do. And he gets back home. He's no longer with us anymore. And that was a big reason that I went to Iraq, was to live in his name. Go there for the right reasons. No social media, no ego. Just go there to do a good job. Support what the Kurds are trying to do and live my life, do the best job I can. And it was so worth it. I can see why he lived the way that he did. There are some people in this world that we do not deserve. Okay. He is one of them. He really is. And I just want to say that today. Nobody can ever replace him, but I hope you can see a little bit of him in me. Just 1%, and I'm happy. He was one of the early supporters of my channel when I was posting in Syria. He really helped me self-reflect, and he enjoyed my videos for what they were, especially when I was talking about the deeper things like ego and pride and stuff that I like talking about personally. That's the stuff I like talking about, the deep stuff that nobody else will talk about. We have a lot of other stories together, but I just want to mention his story today. And there's so much more I wish I could have said about Rashid. I've spoken about Rashid to the members of my channel before, and I don't know, I really respect the dude. Really respect him. And that's all I want to say in this video on Veterans Day. To everybody who's a veteran, enjoy yourselves. Just remember why we're here today. Remember the people who impacted you that are no longer with us. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.